Welcome back, data enthusiasts. In our previous video, we looked through downloading and installing SQL Server. Today, we are taking the next step by learning how to create a database and write data manipulation language queries that allows us to manipulate our data within. If you missed our previous video on how to download and install SQL Server, kindly check the link below. You're going to see that you go through our channel, you see it. And if you are a first timer, kindly click on the subscribe button and then turn on that bell tab so that you don't miss any of our new videos. Okay, so like I said earlier, today we are going to be diving into how to create a database and write data manipulation language queries that allows us to manipulate data within it. Firstly, you might be very new to SQL and you don't know what a database is. So a database is like that virtual container that holds your data in structured way. Now, underline the word structured way. So remember we are working with a structured query language. That's your SQL. So everything there is going to be structured. So that's why you say the database is like that virtual container that holds your data in a structured way. So it is essential for organizing information, making it easily accessible, and ensuring effective data management. Okay, so today, after we've created a database, we are going to be looking at a data manipulation language query. So you might be asking, what does this actually mean? That's your DML. So your DML queries are those tools we use to insert, retrieve, update, and delete data within a database. So it allows us to interact with the information we've stored in a meaningful way. So your DML, which is the data manipulation language, is a subset of our query. Okay, so we have like various subsets of the query language. Okay, so we have the data manipulation language. We have the data query language, and then the rest of them. So we are going to be looking at them one after the other. But in today's video, we are just going to be focused on our data manipulation language. And this actually covers the insert function, the retrieve, the update, and the delete. Okay, so we are just going to dive right into it. So for us to actually write these queries, so we actually there's a word we call syntax. Okay, so syntax is what helps us. It's like that guide. So it's a set rule and that convention that dictates how you should structure your SQL statements. So everything we are going to be writing today, okay, it's called is a syntax. So we have syntax, that thing that actually guides us. So let's take, for instance, we want to actually do an insert a DML. So we have a syntax in which we are following. Okay, it's like an order. Okay, it's like a rule. So you don't just write queries, or you don't just write codes anyhow. So we have that conventional way, we have that rules that actually guide us to do that. All right, so without further ado, let's just go into our SQL. So I'm sure by now you must have actually launched your studio, so your SQL management studio. So this is how the interface looks like. So by now I know you must have connected, because if you actually missed the first video, like I said earlier, please can you refer back to it so that you don't miss anything. So then we've covered how to download and install and also connect your SQL server into your studio. All right, so if you've launched yours, okay, and it's not connected, you come down to where you have connect. See where you have connect, where my icon is. You click on connect. You come down to database management engine. So you click on it. So I already have mine, so it should be showing your device name. Okay, click on connect. And then we'll give it some time to load. After that, we are good to go. All right, it's connected. So this environment, this is like our canvas, so where you're going to be writing all your code or your queries. So if you're just launching, it's not going to show this way. So for you to actually bring up this particular working environment, you come to the top bars here, you're going to see new query. Okay, you're going to see new query. What you just do, click on new query, and then it will pop up. So like I said earlier, what we are going to be covering is how to create a database. Okay, and the next thing we are going to be going through our data manipulation queries, which is to create. Okay, you insert, and then you retrieve, you update, then you delete. So those are the queries you find under your data manipulation language. You create, insert, retrieve, update, and delete. Okay, all right. So what I'm just going to do is to click on my new query, and I have a new canvas. Okay, so this is how yours is going to be. Okay, it's going to be plain like this. We've not written anything yet. So this is how it's going to be. All right, so I said the first thing we are going to do is to create a database. So by the side here, you're going to see where you have a database. So you see it's all empty because it's we just newly installed this and we don't have any database. So what you just have to do is you right click where you have your database. See where you have your database, you right click on it. Okay, you see new database. I take that again. You right click on where you have your database. You see new database. You click on new database. So we actually want to create a database. Okay, we want to create that virtual container that we are going to be working with. Okay, so you just give it some time to load. Okay, let's just give it some time. Okay, so you're going to have this pop-up box showing okay the way to put your database name. So you just include the database name. So for me, I'm going to be using SQL tutorials. So you could name yours what favors you. Okay, and then after that, you just click on OK. So you just include the database name and click on OK, and then we are good. So you give it some time to execute, executing. Okay. All right, so you see, we have our new database here, which is SQL tutorial. So you just want to expand to see what's inside. You click on the plus sign for it to expand. Okay, so you see our database is actually it doesn't have any table, so you could just ignore all these other ones here for now because we're not going to be covering that in the video. So we have done creating our database. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to actually create a table. Okay, the next thing we have to do now is to create. So we want to create a table and insert one or two values into it for us to actually carry out our query. So you can see our table is actually empty. So to create a table, you can actually right click on table, and then you click on new, click on create table, but we don't actually want to do that. So we want to actually do it with our query. We want to actually write it out. Okay, so I'm just going to comment. Okay, so to actually write a comment, you just do you dash key twice and then it's actually a comment. So it's always a nice practice that when you're writing code, okay, you actually put in comments so that when you pick up the code next time or when somebody else picks up what you've written, the person will be able to understand your script. Okay, so that about commenting. So make it a good practice to comment whenever you are writing code, whether it's in SQL or any other programming language. All right, so I'm just going to write here, create a table. All right, so we are going to be creating a customer table. Okay, we are going to be creating a customer table. And to actually do that, we are going to be using the command create. So SQL language is just speaking English. Trust me, it's just like speaking English. Okay, so what you're just going to do is say create. So we say create table. Okay, so the next thing is to impute the name of the table. So what do you want the table to be called? The table is going to be called customer. So say create table customers. And the next thing we are going to do is we are going to actually bring in a different columns. Okay, we are going to be bringing in the different columns that we want in our table. Okay, so these are the different columns that we are going to be having. We have the customer ID. So where you have the vodka 50, so all these are like data types. So we are going to be covering data types subsequently, but for this video, we are not going to be looking at it so much. So we have different data types. So we have strings, we have integers, we have floats. Okay, so to indicate that okay, the different values in which is that is going to be contained in this particular row or in this particular column. Okay, it's an integer or it's a string. Okay, so for us, all these are going to be text. So we call that string. So they are pure text. So and that's what we are bringing in data type varchar, which is variable characters. So this varchar is short form for variable characters. And then the numbers here, we are just trying to indicate the length of the words, okay, for each of the rows or each of the columns. So here we are putting 50, so we are just saying, okay, the length of that of each of the rows in this column is not going to be much. So we're just putting 50. So for the names, we're putting 255 because people's name can be very long. You never can tell. Okay, so that's for the column. So these are the different columns, and then beside it is the data type. All right, so we are going to actually run this. So to actually execute your code, so what you have to do is you highlight everything. You come up here, you see where you have execute. Okay, so is that you click execute or you come to your keyboard and click on F5. All right, so we are going to click on execute. Let's wait for it to run. Okay. All right, so you see here, down here you have a message that shows you commands completed successfully. So, and then it shows you the completion time. So this is just the time, and then the command is successful. So if you have an error while you're running, it's going to actually show you in the message telling you, okay, you have a certain error, and then it will point you to the error. All right, so we've actually executed our table. All right, let's view it. So let's refresh. You come down to where you have your tables. Okay, for it to actually show, we'll actually do a refresh. So you come down to where you have refresh. So what I did, you right click on your table, click on refresh, and then you give it some time to load. Then you see you're going to have your table showing here. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, see our table is actually empty. Okay, so let's try to view what we have in the table. So I'm going to just do a bit of select statement, or I will explain that for us later on. Okay, so I'm just going to explain that later. I want to show something first. Okay, so you see, this is our table. So these are the different columns we created: the customer ID, the name, segment, country, city, and state. So you see, it's actually empty. So we want to put in our values. We want to put in values there. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll comment or say insert. To insert values into the table. So to do this, we are going to use a command insert into. Okay, so the trick about inserting, so you have to make sure that whatever you're bringing into your table, or whatever values that you are imputing into your table corresponds with the different data types in which you are assigned to it. Okay, so you say insert into. I don't know why I'm spelling it wrong. All right, so insert into, so you bring in the name of the table. So where do you want to insert these values into? So you write the name. Okay, so insert into the table. So what are you actually inserting? So you include, okay, we are inserting values. Okay, So we are inserting value. So then the next thing is, okay, you put open parentheses. So some people put parentheses here, some don't. They just stick it to the next line, and then the impute what they have to impute. Okay, so these are the different. So these are the different the information we are going to be having in our table. Okay, so I just had to copy that and then test it, because yeah, to sit and type might take a long while. And we don't want our video to be so long. All right, so you see, the first thing here we have is the customer ID. Now, note that whatever you are bringing in has to be the same number of what you have in your column. So you can't be having 5 columns and then the values you're bringing in is 6. Okay, that's it's not going to rhyme. All right, so we have the different customer IDs. Okay, we have the names, we have the segment, we have the country, the city, and then the state. Now, you might be asking, why are you having columns, or why didn't you just write it plain? Okay, so when you are dealing with text, you have to include columns to it. Okay, if not, it's going to give you an error. And then using your insert into, you have to put in a double column. Okay, since you're dealing with strings. So if we had numbers, so let's say maybe we put in our data type to be integer. Okay, if it was integer, we won't have to put column. So since we are dealing with text, we have to include it in a column. Okay, so that's just one of the basic rules. Okay, when dealing with your values. Okay, so we are just going to run this. So like I said earlier, you click on F5 or you come up here and then you get your execute. Okay, so you see here 5 rows affected. So completion time. All right, so let's view what we've actually done. So to view, so we've already dived into our data manipulation languages. So which retrieval is one of them. So let me just type in here so we will know. So data manipulation language, and the first we are going to be looking at is the retrieval. Okay, sorry. All right, so it's retrieval, and to do this, we are using the select. Okay, so that's one of the first and most common DML. So now select falls into both the DML and also the DQL. The DQL, that's your data query language. Okay, and then the data manipulation language. So to do retrieval, we are going to be using the select function. Okay, of which that is what we are doing. And so it says select. Let me do this in capital. I like writing my functions in capital letter because it makes it looks finer. Okay, so it's not like it's any basic rule. Just you can use your small letters and then it runs perfectly. Okay, so me, I just like mine in capitals. Okay, just like mine in cap lock. So let me write that back, customers. All right. Okay, so DML select. So we're just going to run this. All right. So you see, these are the values we have. So we inserted 5 rows and we have 5 rows here showing the different values in which we imputed. Okay, guys. So the next we are going to do, we are still on the retrieval. So we want to actually retrieve another information. So remember, the manipulation language is just to help you, go through your data set, just help you to manage your data set. Okay. All right. So the next thing we are going to be doing is to actually retrieve names of customers from the consumer segment. So we just want to see these customers that that segment is consumer. So that's just the ones we want to see. Okay, so to do that, now remember we're still on the retrieve. So we are going to do select. So what do we want to see? We want to see just the names. Okay, so we say select names. And when you are actually running this, you have to be specific and make sure that the column names you are calling, okay, it's the same spelling with what you have on your data. So if we are having capital letter N first, make sure it's capital letter N. If there's no S, make sure you don't put S. If there's S, make sure you put it. So it is case sensitive, okay? Meaning that if what you're giving as the column name, it doesn't correspond to what you have in your table, you are going to actually you're going to actually have issues. Okay, it's going to show you an error. Okay, so it says select names. Okay, so we say from. Now, where do you want it to? Where do you want to get it from? So you're telling me, okay, go to the customer table and then get me the names. Now we have a particular condition. So we are saying from consumer segment. So we want it to give us only those ones in the segment for a consumer. Okay, so for us to do that, now we are going to bring in a conditional statement. A conditional statement. So we are going to be using where. Okay, we are going to be using where. So we now say where the segments. So where segments is equals to this is equal to what equals to consumer. So that from what we have there, consumer, to put in our colon. Okay, so where consumer equals to, and then you put in. Okay, so like I said, run, you do, then you execute. All right, so you now see that we actually have we have like 4 customers, okay, that are under consumer. So we want to see the names and also the want to see the segment itself. So okay, we want to confirm. Let's make sure it's not we didn't make any mistakes, or to confirm that our code is not wrong. So to do that, okay, we come down to where you have select names, put comma, and then you bring in the column name in which you want to see. Now remember this select function. Now we are putting in what we actually want to see. So what do you want the result to look like? What do you want to see in that your result? Okay. So that's what this particular line here. So we are going to bring in the segment. So we want to actually see segment alongside. Okay, so let's just run this. Okay, so you now see the names and then the segments. Okay, so try your hands on the select. You can try different other one. Maybe select the country, or select the state, or select the different other columns. Okay, just try to explore your hand around them using the retrieval. Okay, so the next we are going to be looking at is the updates. So we are going to be looking at the updates. The update. Okay, so let me put our comments so that we know what we are looking at. All right, so for the updates, just as the English is update, so we want to actually update something from our data. We want to change something. We want to do a replacement kind of thing. Okay, so we want to update the segment of customers. We want to update the segment of customers. So let's pick a particular state, or let's pick a particular state. But first of all, let's view what we have so that we know what we actually want to change with. Okay, so let's see for the city. So let me see. This is consumer. So let's change for Henderson. Okay, so for Henderson, yeah, for the city Henderson, let's change the customer that is in the city Henderson from being a consumer. So let's say we made a mistake. The person is the corporate customer. So we actually want to update this. Okay. So let's write the code. So we want to change segment of customer. Let me see from the so we want to use Henderson. From the Henderson city to change it to a customer. Okay, Henderson city. So in the Henderson city, okay, you want to change it to corporate. Okay, so we want to change it to corporate. So to actually do that, we are going to be using the function update. So we are going to be using our function update. We are going to be using the function update. So let's do that. So we say update customer. So we have to actually indicate. So let's write that. So we are going to be using the function update. We say update customers. Okay, now we are saying, now remember, customers is our data, is our table. So update customers, we are giving it the function. Okay, I want you to update this particular table. Then you now go over to tell it what you want it to do. They will now bring in the function set. They're now saying set segment equal to corporate, where the city is this. Now we've given it an address. Okay, we want it to go and do this, but make sure that the condition is actually met. Okay, so that's what this particular line of code is saying. So update customers set the segment, our segment where you see corporate. Okay, so far as that city or that person, that customer is in Henderson, so far as the person is in Henderson. Okay, change his segment, okay, to corporate. So whatever segment the person was, we don't want to know. But so far that person is in Henderson, change that person's segment to corporate. So that's what we actually want to update in our table. So let's just run this code. Okay, so executed, one executed. So let's go back, let's run this. So let's see if that was actually done. Okay, so you now see Henderson City is now corporate, is no longer a consumer. Okay, so guys, try your hands on the different of try your hands on it, so you could decide to update any other column, okay, of your choice. All right, so the next thing we are going to be doing is a delete. So I mentioned what we are going to be working on. So now we are going to actually do a delete. We are going to be doing the delete function. So let me see. We are going to be doing delete. Okay. Now, please be very careful when you actually want to use this particular function, okay? Because when you actually delete, you cannot get it back. When you actually delete, you cannot get it back. So be very careful when you're using this particular function, the delete. Okay? All right, so we want to delete customers from, we want to delete the customers, okay, from the customer table, those ones that are located in Los Angeles. Okay, so we want to actually delete that particular column. Okay, let's say we don't want the column, or maybe you're working on a particular data set and you discover that, oh, that particular row has a lot of missing values. Okay, and you want to actually delete it. You don't want to use that row. That's when you cannot use it. Mind you, when you delete, you can't retrieve it, except you have to go back and then and create the table again, or if you imported the table, you go back and import it. Okay, so let's actually write the code. So we are going to be using the function delete. Okay, we're going to be using the function delete. So you now say delete, you indicate where it is going to be deleting, or what is it deleting. So you now say delete, we include our the customer table. Okay, so we're saying delete customer table. You bring in a condition. If you just say delete customers, it's going to delete the whole table. So you now have to indicate what you want it to delete. Okay, you now say delete customers. So where you bring in your condition. Where, so we said we want to delete city. So let's say where city. So where the city is Los Angeles, okay? Where the city is Los Angeles. So let's run this code. Now, mind you, as we are deleting, we cannot get it back. All right, so 2 rows affected. So if you have noticed our table, we had 2 customers that was from Los Angeles. Okay, so let's go back and run this and see. Okay, so now we actually have only 3 customers remaining in our table because 2 were from the Los Angeles city. Okay, so guys, like I said before we started, so what we've covered today, what we've covered in this video is how to create a database and how to actually work with the data manipulation language queries. And what we looked at how to create a table, how to insert the values into your table, and we now went over to look at the different DMLs, which is the retrieval query, okay, which we use our select. So like I said earlier, select pass into the DML and also the DQL, which we are going to cover in our next video largely. Okay, so the next we looked at is to update, and I mentioned you can update your table, okay. And then the next thing is to delete. So you can actually delete a whole table. You can actually delete a particular row from your table with conditions, okay. All right, guys. This is where we're going to stop for today for this video. All right, so see you guys in our next video. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe and turn on the notification key pin so that you don't miss any of our videos. All right, guys, see you in our next video. Bye.